This is the award-winning car talk. I'm sorry?
Nothing. Go ahead. I'm messing.
This is the award-winning car talk show in Wheel Time, your weekly go-to all things automotive place. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeff Zekin, I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us on this Saturday. Kind of a cold day here in Houston, Texas, and going to get even colder from what I understand. We're all geared up and ready for that. Not. Exactly. All right, so our guests right now are Amy Lerner and Sue Mead with the Dakar Rally experience, and we have had a very interesting conversation with them so far, and we're going to continue it now. So we've been talking about how the Dakar Rally works, the car that Amy drove, and that Sue is the team leader on. So with all of the folks that you've got for this one car in support of Amy's driving and the navigator and that sort of stuff, while they're on the road, while they're actually competing during the day, what are you doing other than clenching your teeth and scared to death that everything's going to work out just fine?
Well, you're on the move the whole time, and I'll explain that in a minute, but I did want to just jump back and fill in a couple quick spaces.
Yes, please.
My first Dakar, I trained with my co-driver in the vehicle that we drove for almost a year. And although Darren expected to be the driver only, I also competed with him in a race, driving it in the event that I needed to be a driver.
Right.
And then when I talked about the Ford Raptor, I was able to do a 1,000-mile shakedown, actually at Big Bend National Park, and a little bit of driving with Darren before we put it on the boat to go to South America. So as Amy, by contrast, Amy never had that time with her co-driver. She never had that time with her race car. And yet I had so much confidence in her. I thought she was a little crazy, guys, when she told me she was going to race a 911 rear driver. And
you think?
There was a period of time where she was looking at a couple of four-wheel drive vehicles and threw in maybe the 911. And the day later said to me, not the 911. And I made the mistake. I learned, never say this. I said, oh, thank God you're not driving the 911. I was so worried. And then the following day, Amy being Amy, just bold and brave and creative, she said, guess what? I'm buying the 911. I thought, oh my goodness. I can't believe I said that. But the race is typically 5,000 or 6,000 miles long. It was this year. And as Amy said, there are bivouacs or encampments where the race travels. It travels along a route with usually hundreds of miles of desert dunes and beautiful desert terrain each day. And so the support needs to get to the bivouac each night. And in our case, Amy was wonderful and hired a motorhome for Judith and me to travel each day, and it could have been a minimum of 400 kilometers up to almost 900 kilometers each day that Judith and I would wait until Amy and Sarah and the mechanics were not only out of the bivouac, but on the road. And then we would take off and we would drive on roads. So it's all choreographed. We would drive on roadways to get to the next bivouac. Dakar bivouacs are always located near an airstrip. Not only do they have ambulance and other helicopters to fly over the race in the event that they need to pick someone up, there's been an accident or injury, hence the ambulance medical helicopters. That's always a big comfort that they can get to people quickly. But also, they do a lot of filming, and I know Amy has some, I believe, some clips or some images of the filming that the helicopter does to provide coverage during the day. So we would meet in the evening. We would go, Judith and I in the motorhome, and our two mechanics, Ulish, that's really his name, and Mark from Belgium, they would drive the support truck, which was a giant lorry set up for everything from spare tires and spare parts to welding. We would meet up at the camp. We would set up our encampment for the night and wait for Amy and Sarah to show up. So the whole entourage, which this year was about 3,000 people, moved 5,000 miles throughout the country.
From airport to airport, basically.
Yes, you're near an airport. Sometimes you're more or less aware. And the other thing about the airport is that there are a number of the organization staff and media from around the world that travel. A few travel in autos. Many of them travel on a couple of 727s that fly each day to get the media and the others to the camp.
So Amy, what things happened that you didn't expect along the route that you had to make some big adaptations to complete?
We had what has been termed a mechanical mystery on our very first day. The pulley on the Porsche shattered.
Ouch.
So we are chugging along, and suddenly the car has no power. And I'm thinking, oh, great, I don't know this car. What just happened? So we pull off the track that everybody's riding on, open up the back and see a fan belt loose.
Yeah, so you knew that something was wrong.
Yeah, so we knew that something was wrong, and then realized that the pulley wasn't there, and waited, because one thing that I did do, not knowing the car, having a co-driver who was not a mechanic by any stretch of the imagination, was hire an assistance truck. And in the main Dakar Rally and in the Classic as well, you are allowed to get help, but only if it's from a competitor, a fellow competitor. So what all the top teams in the main rally do is they have either other vehicles in their class or a vehicle in the truck class. That sole purpose is to race behind them, filled with spare parts and people that know their car, so that if they have trouble on the course, those guys hop out and take care of things. So I did contract the services of an assistance truck, which was a old truck that hadn't been driven in 15 years, that was renovated to enter this class and carried some of my parts and some other teams as well. And those guys I knew were behind us. So we didn't really get upset because I knew they were going to come and tow us. I mean, I've done events where that would have happened and you're basically sitting there for potentially days until someone comes and gets you. So I wasn't really worried about it. I was like,
did they tow you to the? Did they tow you to the next stop, bivouac?
Yeah, no, they ended up actually having to tow us to the bivouac because that was not something they expected to happen.
And did they have a spare pulley with them?
They did not have a spare pulley with them because, that is, and I've done some Googling afterwards. It's one of those things that really shouldn't happen unless the pulley is really old.
Well, even then, I've never heard of one shattering.
Yeah. This was brand new. Yeah. So it's one of those things, Elise, our mechanic, has worked on that car for years, and he was just boggled.
So you just call the local Porsche dealer to get a new pulley?
No, they had one, but it was on our mechanic's truck at the bivouac. It wasn't on the assistance truck.
Had to get to
because that was one of those things that never fails.
You don't carry it out on the race because it doesn't break.
Nobody anticipated that was going to happen. So we got our ride in. So I was very thankful for the assistance truck at that point. And, replaced it, and we were good to go the next day. But you have to, these things happen. And you have to you have to be ready.
You should have got the extended warranty when they called you.
When they called. There you go.
Yeah. So Sue said you had some pictures maybe?
Yes.
That you could share with us?
I have to figure out now how to
share screen
and Zoom. Okay, here's the slideshow. Okay, let me get back to Zoom.
While Amy's doing that, I'm going to ask her to also talk to you or tell you the story of the exhaust.
The exhaust?
Oh, actually, that's almost a better. That's a better story. Yeah. So, one of the days towards the end of the rally, maybe it was the 9th day of competition, the 10th day of competition. Sarah and I come into the camp. We're thinking we had a good day, thinking everything was fine. It was really rocky that day. And there was one thing that we had to go kind of up and down that was very narrow. So the front of the car scraped and the back of the car scraped. But we got out and looked at the car, and everything seemed to be okay afterwards. And we come into camp, and we're like, yes, no problems today. I think everything's good. And somebody says, hey, you might want to come and take a look at the back of the car again. I walk around. We have no exhaust.
No exhaust.
The exhaust on the Porsche runs right under the back bumper. So somewhere along the way, one of those rocks that we hit that I didn't think was that much of an issue because it didn't feel bad, and I've hit a lot of rocks, so I know, okay, you have to check now and again. I guess ripped the exhaust off. The mechanic is, stomping his feet, muttering to himself in circles. What am I going to do? We can't run 3 days. You're going to wreck the engine. Da, da, da. What am I going to do? I got to figure this out. And our assistance truck pulls in, and the guys who are in the assistance truck hop down, come on over, like, hey, how was your day? I'm like, yeah, it was good. We had something funny. We found something.
It was your exhaust system.
They had no idea. They had not seen my car at that point and did not know that we didn't have the exhaust.
Oh, how funny.
And they were like, yeah, look. And the guy
found some
pulls up
spare
the
parts
exhaust.
for you.
So you mean to tell me after all of this time that it was still worthy of being put back on the engine?
Yeah, it required some major creative welding, but it had just, the two connection points on the ends, the pipes, it just pulled off. So the exhaust itself required a couple of little bangs with a hammer, but it was pretty solid. But it was just the pipes that just pulled off.
How fortunate are you that those guys found the thing?
It was, rally gods were smiling all over Saudi Arabia for us that day. It was just crazy. And amazing story for everybody. That was a hilarious thing to happen. But as they say, it's the Dakar.
So I have to tell you that we got about 3 minutes left in the interview, and I wanted to make sure that we kind of wrap things up here. Where did you wind up finishing in the overall?
We ended up overall second in class and 15 overall.
Oh, unbelievable.
Wow. Fantastic.
Congratulations on that.
Wow.
So are you going to race again?
Yeah, I think I've got some ideas for next year, and it'll be fun to see what we can put together with the luxury of time and having a whole year to plan instead of 2 weeks.
I have
So is Sue going to be the team mom again?
I hope so.
Take Don with you. Don wants to go on your next rally with you.
I'm good.
We need a break.
I unpack my bags. I would love that. Amy, are you able to show any images right now or no?
Yes, it says the host needs to disable.
Give her permission.
Needs to allow screen sharing.
Well,
he doesn't know how to do that.
As soon as he figures out how to do that.
Okay, guys, and I'm going to be interruptive one more time because I know we're right at the end. I'm hoping that you'll have Amy back on to talk about one of her greatest achievements in the time that I've known her, and that is that Amy has been the producer of an off-road movie that has gone to many film festivals in the last year. I worked with her a bit on it for 3 years, and it's on Rod Hall, who you guys know.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
And it's called One More Win. And you should do a whole show on that. And Amy's making it during both the Mexican 1000 and the Baja 1000. Shy of COVID, it might be a number of places, big screen or other places that Amy has considered. But I'm just so enamored with what she did with that movie. There are very few off-road movies, very few authentic ones. So I want to make sure you hear that.
Kind of Days of Thunder in Sand.
There you go.
Kind of.
Kind of like that. Yeah, exactly.
She really appreciates it. This is the heads up, Don.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember Days of Thunder. I was like, Tom Cruise.
Yes, exactly.
This is Days of Dust.
Days of Dust. Perfect. Wow. Yes, exactly. Perfect. Well, ladies, it has been a true pleasure, and what a great story. And we will be obviously getting in touch with you, Amy, and Sue. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. What a great writer Sue is. And just look up Sue Mead, and she's got some wonderful stories to tell in writing fashion. So, Sue, thank you very much, and congratulations on being the team leader, or as I like to call it, the coach. And Amy, it's great to talk to you and meet you, and we will be in touch with you because, yes, we want to pursue your story a little bit further.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much. Great to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sue, we'll talk to you again, Sue. Take care, y'all.
I hope I see you guys on the road soon.
Oh, well, yeah, really.
We promise, and hopefully without a snow shovel next to us.
Yeah.
All right.
Be well, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Be careful.
All right.
Thanks.
So it's time now for our delayed car review, Mr. Mars. As soon as you get done with what you're doing there, we need to talk about the Ram TRX. Are you ready to do that? No,
yes,
apparently
sir.
not.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you
I'm ready.
He says, saying.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the TRX. I mean, this kind of wraps up my whole Hellcat month that we've had going on here.
A month of hell.
A month of Hellcat, yeah. So what we're talking about is a 2021 Ram 1500. Now, this is a TRX. Now, this was introduced a few years ago at the auto show at the Texas State Fair, and it was a big deal. And Jim Morrison was with Ram at the time, and he unveiled it, cranked that thing up, and I mean, it was just an awesome thing. But it was so much that nobody really figured they'd ever build it. Well, here it is in all its glory. This is a full-size pickup. And it's some of the changes. It's based on a Ram 1500, but because of the body and the way they've done some things, it's actually 8 inches wider. It's got an aluminum hood on it with a functional hood scoop that actually supplies 50% of the airflow down to the engine. So it's got a unique TRX grill up and badging and graphics. It's got a real unique look to itself because it is an off-road vehicle.
Looks kind of like the Rebel, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, then you get to the interior, and it looks a whole lot like the Rebel because that's what it's based on. Now, one of the things on the outside of it, there's a lot of people going to 20 and 22-inch wheels, but this is using an 18 by 9-inch wheel.
That's my favorite look on a truck.
Yes, but it's by design because it gives it a little more rubber for the off-road functionality of it. This did have the beadlock capable aluminum wheels on it. Had the tonneau cover for covering things up in the back of it. So it's a real nice setup on the outside of it.
So
really
the stuff
unique.
doesn't go flying out of the bed.
That's right. Whenever you jump something.
Or you're on the Dakar Rally.
And the flares to deal with the wider tires.
That's part of the body being much wider, 8 inches wider. And when you get to the interior, again, it's based on the Rebel layout on the interiors where it's really noticeable. You've got the leather interior, heated front seats. The rear seats are actually heated. They're 60/40 that fold up. The front seats are ventilated.
That's pretty.
It's got the under the floor storage in the rear seats that I really like, and I'm surprised nobody else really does that. Now, we did have the heads-up display, and it'll have actually 5 different functions that you can put up on this heads-up display. Now, there in the picture that you've got there, that's the gauge package, and what that is, you can select the different drive modes. And when you do that, it comes up in a picture. There's a pictogram to kind of show you where you're at in the snow, the sand, whatever. And it's built in. There's some buttons down on the bottom of the dash so that you can actually make those selections for your drive mode.
Very cool.
As part of that whole gauge package there. Of course, we had the big 12-inch screen right there. That's what the performance pages look like whenever you pull them up because it is a Hellcat. You got to have it. That's what it looks like when you pull it up. There's just tons of information there. And you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's your drive mode selection buttons right there.
It's huge.
And we also
that's where your co-driver comes in as handy.
Oh, yes, absolutely, because there's a lot of – you can get lost over there trying to read all that stuff. We also had the Harman Kardon 19-speaker audio system in this baby. But, and you had to crank it up to drown out the noise. Now,
I like the green frame.
I was looking for a shot of the engine because this is the 6.2-liter supercharged V8.
It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Hellcat motor. 702 horsepower in this version, 650 pound-feet of torque.
Oh, my gosh.
Backed by an 8-speed automatic. And in this picture, you can see the suspension and the different lengths of the suspension and stuff, how they've set this thing up. And it really makes a big difference, not only in the off-road world, but in the highway, going down the road. This thing will run at speed on the highway, and it will.
We don't want to say what speed, do we?
But I mean, it's a cruiser on the highway. It's amazing. No, sir, I did not.
Should you have?
Better luck next time.
You only should if you get caught. You should.
Moving on.
So anyway, I have to say the EPA rating on this vehicle, if you're interested, which you shouldn't be when you go to look at a vehicle like this, city EPA says 10. Highway 14. Combined, you should be looking at about 12.
It's a race truck, for God's sake.
So who cares? I mean, you really shouldn't care about all that. So it just, and not only does it have this awesome level of power, this sound. You can put this thing in 4th gear at 30 miles an hour and you're cruising down the drag and you can hear that belt on that supercharge. You can hear that whine setting in there and you can load it up and just go down the road listening to that with the exhaust. And but like
you know that you did, because otherwise
absolutely.
You wouldn't say it.
You have to find it, but you can do that. And like I say, it's remarkably tame out on the highway because of all the suspension that really works well. when you're going in the off-road.
And the Department of Public Safety.
And the DPS, yes. I do have to say that there are actually 4 different drive modes. There's normal, and then there's one for snow, then there's off-road, and then there's one called Baja, where it really changes some things. Of course, we don't have a lot of rocks down here. It's basically sand.
Maybe you could change that to read Dakar.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
And it does have launch control, which kind of that's part of the performance
control on a 4-wheel drive truck. That's awesome.
Well, I couldn't figure out a use for it, and so I never did try it. But it was kind of like I saw it in the performance pages.
Don't tell us
I didn't try it. Not on this truck, because why?
Why not?
Because you can.
Well, exactly. I can see.
I guess so,
I can see those big knobby tires just burning off chunks at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Throwing them into the windshield of the car behind you. Now,
probably just ripping the road up.
Yeah. If you're looking for something to compare this to, I really looked, and really the only thing out there is the Ford Raptor. Now, this one, right now, you're going to get a V6 in it, not the big V8. They say they've got a V8 coming.
Yeah, for 21.
Yes, but the 20, you're going to get a V6. Now, the Raptor is going to be about $80,000 if you go look at it. Now, the TRX, if you start looking at it, you're going to start at $69,995. Now, $7,900 of that is the TRX package. But our MSRP, as tested on this awesome, badass truck, was $88,265.
Wow.
And they will sell every one they build.
Oh, I think they've already sold them, I think.
Yeah.
It just, I could not find anything about it that I didn't like, other than the fuel economy. And if I had the money to buy one like that, I wouldn't worry about it.
When you're spending $90,000, it doesn't make any difference. If it had 2 miles per gallon, who cares?
Well, right. and the important thing is you can spend $90,000 on a lot of things that are not nearly as much fun to drive as this. You know, I had it out tailpipes and tacos the last time we were out there. A lot of people out there are oohing and ahhing over it. I should have sold it.
You should have.
I should have sold it.
I'm sorry. Kimberly, I'm sorry, but we've misplaced it. We don't know what happened to it.
We sold it. It's
but
over
my
here.
Pockets are really big now.
You're gone.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. I did want to bring up a couple of news headlines. One of them is this week's recalls. Let's see. This would be the Volkswagen lineup of the Atlas and the Atlas Cross Sport, both for 2020-21. And it would be loss of steering due to knuckle failure. You know, knuckles, baby. Knuckle failure. So be on the lookout for a recall in your mailbox soon.
Loss of steering. That's an interesting.
At least it's not a thermal event.
It'd probably be just as bad.
I was just going to say. But unfortunately for this, how else are you going to find out that you've got loss of steering?
Until you lose it.
Mm-hmm. Another one from Volkswagen is a detached circlip can cause the steering to lock up on the Audi Q3 for 2019.
Well, that's a good blend. You can either lose your steering or it can lock up.
There you go.
And nothing in between. Oh, my God.
One extreme or the other.
There is a recall on the Jeep Gladiator and the Jeep Wrangler 2018 to 2021 for some models. The clutch pressure plate may overheat. That's not a good thing. BMW, loose steering column shaft on the BMW X5, X6, X7 for 2021. Mercedes-Benz, the transmission may shift into neutral while driving on the GLA 250 for 2019.
Wow.
Tesla is having a recall.
Everybody has a recall.
Center display can lose the rear view camera image. Do we really care? No. If you lose it, take it in. They'll fix it. Master cylinder pushrod may disconnect on the Ram 1500 for 2021. That's going to be a recall, and that's the recall list for this week.
So you heard that General Motors is having a class action lawsuit brought against it for the consumers about an oil consumption defect on the LS motor in 9 different GM trucks.
Speaking of that, I understand that there is a valve spring issue in the Corvette motor that is currently underway.
Well, this is the second generation of the valve spring issue in the Corvette.
How do you have a valve spring issue?
They went through it in the C7. Now they're also having it in the C8.
Same manufacturer of the valve springs?
Apparently.
I don't think I would be using that supplier any longer.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, it's a double spring, so there's an outer spring and then there's an inner spring, and it's the outer. I believe it's the outer spring that's failing.
So it's random on the cylinder. It's not just one particular cylinder. It's just random.
Correct. Well, yeah, the way the valve springs are put in, they're put in kind of random. And in some instances, the valve spring breaks and the keeper stays in place. And it's fixable. In other instances, the valve spring breaks and you explode the motor.
I was just going to say it destroys the motor.
Drops it into the piston,
and everything goes boom.
It's kind of like having a nut in the intake manifold and the engine swallows it, and that's the end of that motor.
Voice of experience. You drop one down the carburetor one time.
It was Richardson Chevrolet thing. We don't know how it got in there, but somehow.
Tune in next week.
But yeah, they're having an issue with valve springs. You can read about all that on the Corvette forums. They are just smoking mad.
Cadillac moved the needle on Super Bowl Sunday. Did you see it? I know Jeff did.
I did.
All it took was a pair of scissor hands and a friendly joust with Norway over electric vehicles. And judging by shopping activity on third-party sites and search traffic across the web, Cadillac was the big winner thanks to 2 Super Bowl spots that showcased the upcoming electric Lyric crossover. Luxury brand revived the Edward Scissorhands universe for a brand spot that's centered on his son Edgar Scissorhand, not Edward. You get it. The highlighted Cadillac Super Cruise driver assist technology also. In a corporate spot for GM, the Lyric grabbed the screen time as actor Will Ferrell took on Norway.
Do you know why they chose Norway to pick on? In Norway, 54% of all new vehicles sold in 2020 were full electric vehicles, where here in the United States, plug-in electrics are only about 2.2% of sales. So they were trying to challenge the Americas to buy much more electric vehicles through that commercial.
And my question is that the Lyric that they did on the commercial is different than the Lyric I see on all the web. It's more of a sedan, more of a elongated.
What you're looking at is the
prototype,
show car. Yeah,
but I like that too.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be.
It's going to be a CUV.
We could talk about Cadillacs all day.
I know that. And that's why I kind of threw that in there. Traffic gains weren't limited to GM Jeep spot, which starred iconic musician Bruce Springsteen. Jeep's call for unity, the middle, led to a 93% traffic spike for Jeep brands on cars.com. Auto Trader searches for Jeep increased 36%, while the brand saw an 11% rise on new vehicle pages on Kelley Blue Book.
You heard, they dropped the ad,
well,
right?
you didn't let me finish.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, they've since dropped the ad because it came to light that apparently Bruce was arrested for DWI, so that spot is currently on hold. I don't know what they're doing.
I wonder if they'll get their money back that they paid him for.
I'll bet not.
Probably in court costs.
Court costs, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but he wants to tell us what to do.
Yeah, but it was a good spot, I have to admit. And Los Angeles Auto Show has switched dates once again and will now take place in November of this year, when it has been staged in recent years, according to organizers on Thursday. The rescheduled 2021 LA show is the latest in a flurry of moves on the global auto show schedule. The Detroit Auto Show, rescheduled because of the pandemic, was canceled altogether for this year. The Chicago Auto Show for 2021, which typically takes place in February, was postponed to simply spring of 2021. Well, guess what?
Maybe.
That ain't going to happen. New York Auto Show will now take place August the 20th through the 29th. We'll see if that takes place as well. But I would think that it would probably have a better chance of being on the schedule nationwide than any of the others before that. Because my thing has always been, not that I'm an expert, just guessing, that I would like to think that by Labor Day, we should be coming out of this whole pandemic thing. I hope.
We're supposed to be wearing masks until like 2097 or something.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be wearing 2 and 3 masks now, if you listen to Fauci.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll continue with the In Wheel Time show right after this. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, February 20th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupi Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free, and everyone's invited. You will see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupi Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupi founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise-in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, February 20th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupi's in Katy. The Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise-in, February 20th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupi's in Katy, weather permitting.